Welcome back to the Vybrational Stage Podcast. Today I want to talk about something that I suspect many of us experience but rarely put into words. The feeling that you no longer know which part of yourself to listen to. At first glance, being pulled in too many directions appears to be a scheduling problem. Too many commitments, too many responsibilities, too many demands, too many unfinished tasks. But the longer I sit with this experience, the less convinced I am that the real struggle is external. Because I have met people carrying extraordinary responsibility who possess remarkable peace. And I have met people carrying relatively little responsibility who feel completely overwhelmed. That tells me something important. The issue isn't always what we are carrying. The issue is often what is carrying us. Think about that for a moment. Most people believe they have one mind, one self, one perspective. But if we're honest, that isn't what life feels like. Life often feels like a room full of competing voices. One voice says, you need to work harder. Another says, you need to rest. One says, you should take the opportunity. Another says, you should play it safe. One says, keep going. Another says, I can't keep doing this. And somewhere inside all of that noise, we begin losing our ability to recognize our own wisdom. Because every voice sounds urgent. Every voice sounds convincing. Every voice sounds important. This is one of the hidden costs of being pulled in too many directions. We begin mistaking internal noise for guidance. And eventually we become exhausted, not because life is demanding too much from us, but because we are trying to satisfy every voice simultaneously. I think many high performers understand this experience deeply. They become skilled at managing complexity. They become skilled at anticipating problems. They become skilled at carrying enormous amounts of responsibility. But over time, something subtle begins happening. The skills that created success began demanding constant attention. The mind never stops scanning, never stops calculating, never stops preparing, never stops evaluating. Life becomes an endless series of mental tabs left open. And eventually, something important gets buried beneath all of that activity. Ourselves. Not our personality, not our roles, not our achievements, not our identities. Ourselves. The deeper awareness beneath all of it. The part that existed before the pressure. The part that existed before the expectations. The part that existed before we started believing we had to hold everything together. And perhaps this is why being pulled in too many directions feels so painful. Because beneath the overwhelm is often a deeper longing. A longing to return to ourselves. A longing to stop performing. A longing to stop managing, a longing to stop carrying, a longing to simply be. And maybe that longing isn't weakness. Maybe it's wisdom. Maybe it's life itself attempting to guide us back toward balance, back toward wholeness, back toward presence, back toward ourselves. Because no matter how many directions life pulls us, there remains a deeper center within us that has never been fragmented, never been broken, never been lost, only forgotten. And perhaps the invitation today is not to figure out which voice is right. Perhaps the invitation is to become curious about the awareness that hears all of them. Because the awareness is not overwhelmed. The awareness is simply noticing. And when we reconnect with that deeper awareness, something remarkable happens. The noise may still exist, the responsibilities may still exist, the uncertainty may still exist, but they no longer define us. They no longer consume us. They no longer become who we are. And in that space, we begin remembering something powerful. We are not the chaos. We are the awareness observing the chaos. And that realization changes everything. This week's Vibe Shift blog experience. While the Vibrational Stage Podcast explores the deeper meaning behind this week's core problem, the Vibe Shift blog is where we begin transforming insight into action. Rather than offering disconnected ideas, this week's blog unfolds as a progressive journey. Each day introduces another piece of the framework for navigating the feeling of being pulled in too many directions at once. By Friday, those individual pieces come together into a complete self-empowerment roadmap designed to help you regain clarity, reduce overwhelm, and move forward with intention. Continue your journey at the Vibe Shift blog. Follow the link in the show notes. And if this week's conversations resonate deeply, you'll want to watch for the release of the VSP number 4, where we'll guide you through a complete immersive experience built around this very challenge. Because insight is powerful, but experiencing your own clarity is transformational.